Hello YouTubers, welcome back to Brain Bang TV, and this is the Football Index videos 5 for short. And today really I just wanted to bring you guys a little update with regards to my portfolio. And as promised, I did say I was going to be kind of keeping you guys up to date with regards to stuff that I do find out, things I find interesting and I think is worth sharing with the general public, and things in association to Football Index or any other sort of topics that I release videos for. So, with regards to that, for those of you who don't know and you're still fairly quite new to the index, you might not know a lot of third-party applications, softwares, or websites that you might be able to use to better organize yourself with regards to profitability on the index, or just keeping yourself in the loop with everything in general. So there are a couple of those third-party platforms that I think are really, really good. To give an example, Index Gain for me stands right at the top of those third-party platforms that kind of gives you the information that you need to get some of these analysis done. The other is IndexTrak, sorry. This one particularly, I don't actually have an account, an actual uh, experience using the software itself. I don't know much into it. I've just got an account with the platform so far. And the reason I'm mentioning IndexTrak today is because they do a weekly newsletter that they kind of publish to anyone who's in email subscription to them. And basically, in this newsletter so far, I think I've had about five or so far, and they've been quite detailed. A lot of new information sometimes, things that I find quite interesting. And I thought, you know what, I might potentially start doing a week review of that newsletter just to see if I can explain, so, get my points across with regards to certain points, and recap on any of the sort of valuable knowledgeable information that is on that newsletter. And to start that off, I'm going to be doing one today for the week, Monday 6th to the 12th of April. This is thanks to Index Tracks. I'm just going to shamelessly plug them. They look like a decent platform. Not sure into how the spread portfolio spreadsheet or whatnot that they offer on the platform is like, to be honest with you. So if you have any information on that, if you've used it before, do leave your views and opinions regarding the platform in the comment section down below for me. Thank you. But today we're just going to look at the review the Football Index in 3 minutes newsletter that they put out there for their customers. So far, week starting April 6th, 2020 to the 12th of April 2020, the platform's kind of gradually just gone up in a nice fashionable way, and you can't really complain about that. With regards to that, it's good as a football index trader to kind of see these kind of stats, because it keeps your mind rest assured in a certain kind of way. And I mean, on this graph, you can see at the football index market cap, like the slope is pretty damn awesome if you're a trader and you understand the ebbs and flows of profit and gain and drawdowns. Then you realistically you would be really happy with a graph or a chart like this. And this so far is kind of indicating that there was about a 2 million pound increase in the market capitalization of the index. So that's all great news. It shows that the platform is gradually heading upwards, and potentially is a really good source of earnings and investments for the near future anyway. The other thing they've mentioned, I'm just going to read this out and I'll try to explain, and you might potentially see my point of view when it comes to the value this sort of newsletter provides to the general public of football index traders. So I'm just going to read out as quoted by IndexTrak. It says here, are it says here as a question, are traders getting ready for the return of football? And this is something I mentioned to some of the comments I've got so far. Is you want to, as a guy who's investing in dividend players, you want to kind of not just invest in dividend payers based on the fact that we currently have a five dividend placeholder um, uh, in place as put forward by the Football Index team. You should also consider the fact that the Football Index five placeholders will eventually come to an end, which means you won't get media dividends every day, as nicely pointed out by one of my viewers. And because you won't get that every day, you kind of have to account for the time when football does resume. And in doing so, you'll be able to diversify and be properly hedged for situations where the way the results are put out there with regards to media changes. And with that change, will then the resumption of the performance-based dividends would then come into action. And if you put that next to each other and do some proper research, then you should be able to find some decent picks that could still stay ahead of those performance and media based dividends as time goes on into the near future, and with the resumption of football going back to normal. So that's just something to think about, really. I'm just going to continue on from that. It says when you split the growth of the tracker into different positions, you get a good idea of the trend that is happening. Midfielders and forwards are, as a group, are quite protected on Football Index in the fact that they have the equal ability to pick up media dividends in cycles of trebled media. However, defenders and goal goalkeepers seem to lag behind unless there is a big story that catches the eye of the journalist, and this is absolutely true. They hit the nail spot on with this one. Um, And it says here, if we look at the amount of dividends won by each of the positions since the top five leagues got postponed, this becomes quite evident. And it says here, goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and the left-hand column shows the dividend won by each. Goalkeepers at 10p, defenders at 16p, midfielders at £2.43, and forwards at £2.60, £2.26. So with that graph there, you can kind of almost see that reflected in the prices of these players, with goalkeepers being right down at the bottom, being the cheapest, mid defenders following suit after that, and then you've got midfielders who are technically the highest paid, sorry, the highest prices on the index with the likes of Pogba, Jadon Sancho, Rashford, or sometimes he does play up top, but a lot of these players are a lot more valuable than some of the attackers on the. I mean, Aubameyang, for instance, is arguably one of the best strikers on the planet currently because his goal ratios are ridiculous, but yet he's sat at £2.6p or 7p when you've got the likes of I don't know, Sterling, who sat at almost £6, although he's English. We do know the English effect is also a thing, and we do know the Manchester United effect is also a thing. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, do leave some comments and I can elaborate on that. Maybe do a video on what I mean by those. But yeah, continue on from that. It says with this, you would naturally expect midfielders and forward to have an to have increased in price more than the defenders and goalkeepers, and that's actually true. And if you made this assumption, you would be right. But this week, defenders outgrew midfielders and forwards. This is interesting. It says why? It is because a few defenders won some dividends last week. No, they didn't. Defenders won 0.02 p this week, which is quite minuscule compared to the amount of dividends being paid out on the platform currently. We believe the real reason behind this is that traders are getting their portfolios in shape for when the season restarts. I couldn't really argue with that, to be honest. I would think that if you're potentially looking to get your portfolio um, uh, in shape and in sort of in prime position for when the season does restart, then you arguably a lot of traders on the platform and in general from learning to trade will probably diversify to a certain degree. And if you do, or you'll be trying to find value on the index, and realistically, a lot of these players, for defenders and goalkeepers, would be considered as undervalued, although they don't get you those dividends, and as such, kind of on explains why the prices are at those levels. But at the same time, when you compare them to their peers and they're all at the same level, there's a lot of these a lot of these little points that are questionable really for why these prices for keepers and defenders are a lot lower than what you would get for midfielders. Well, um, for that, I would have to kind of see how it goes really. But if you're looking to position your portfolio properly, then arguably you'll be looking to look for defenders, goalkeepers, as well as strikers and midfielders to kind of have a well diversified portfolio from all sorts of leagues, depending on what you specialize in or what you're trying to specialize in anyway. So, so it says, so why haven't goalkeepers increased with defenders? We believe there is a valid reason for that too. Goalkeepers don't win match day dividends that often as they compete directly with defenders. The value of goalkeepers come through the in-play dividends. And if you buy shares now, you are particularly betting on on football to return and the goalkeeper to return over 2% of their share price within 30 days. Realistically, what he's trying to do is if you're just going, or what they're trying to say there is if you're buying a goalkeeper based on dividend earnings, then you'll potentially be only looking at in-play dividends for the goalkeeper during that set 30-day period. Now, in that set 30-day period, if that's the strategy that you're using for that purchase, then you would ideally want to make over 2% to account for the cost of the sale of that 2% commission charges that you pay when you sell a player. Moving on, it says the question is, have you missed the trend of getting on match day dividend earning players? It says no is the simple answer. Goalkeepers are down 4.1% from their highs. Defenders are down 5.9% from their highs. Midfielders are down 1.4%, and forwards are down 2.4% from their highs. So that is if you don't know what this means, this is actually potentially good news. And I'll tell you why I see this as good news. Because when I first found the index, and this was probably going back at around August or September last year, I was kind of contemplating investing on the index or on the stock market at this point. And it took me a while to come to that decision, and a lot of things were going on in the world anyway. So yeah, with regards to that, when I found the index and I thought, you know what, this is a brilliant little concept. There's so much room and potential for this platform to become something great. I thought I don't want to miss the train. I want to get involved right now, but unfortunately, funds never allowed me to do so, and a few other reasons that I couldn't mention on the video. But the point I'm trying to get at is this only shows you that you haven't missed the train. And if you already have a portfolio, then this only shows you that it's time to load up on things you still hold that value for. That is the whole point of what this section of this comment really does for me. It shows me with regard in combination with this comment here and the market capitalization of the FI index that we looked at the start of the newsletter, then that gives you a sense that you know what, there's some value to be had here. The index is growing, and potentially with all the downs that we see in this in this sentence here, then it just shows you that you could potentially get some of those bargains at an even cheaper bargain than they were at some point previously. And I don't mean that's for every single player, goalkeeper or defender on the platform. I just mean that for those players who potentially where you would have considered valuable when the football was still on and they were trading at maybe say £4.20, but now football's not on. There's no performance-based dividends on these players or any kind of pump on with regards to media or whatnot on these players, and all of a sudden you see players like Sadio Mane, for instance, or any player in that kind of caliber where they thrived a lot during football, and as soon as football stopped, they kind of just flatlined. And if you can find those values there, and you when football was still on and you found value in them at 4.90, guess what? They're still or even more attractive at £3.20 or £2.20. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. You kind of have to know what these percentages mean. Um, the fact that they're stating that these sections of the index are down by a certain amount, it shouldn't scream it's not good in your ear. Well, this should be a point where, do you know what? I missed a train when the platform first arrived 5 years ago. I missed a train 4 years ago. I missed a train 3 years ago. This should be the kind of push that you should find and get, where you're looking at this and going, actually, it's probably time for me to invest, because I could potentially get some of these players at a slightly better premium than I would if the football had already started. So in a nutshell, what this is getting at is a lot of people are starting to position themselves for the restart of football. A lot of people are seeing the value on the platform, with regards to players having these price dips during the coronavirus pandemic. So yeah, all I can say to you guys is try as much as you can, as well as I'm going to be doing the same also, and trying to get myself well positioned for when the football does restart, because then we could take advantage of some of those hopefully incredible moves that we might see. I do think we should see some major swings in the prices. The volatility might spike a little depending on whether or not we're going to see those spreads come down straight away. I personally don't think we're going to see the spreads come down straight away, because I think it's kind of like having a bottleneck in it. If you think of it that way, when you have a bottleneck, you're just gonna. I feel anyway. I wouldn't know too much into this, but from my understanding so far, um, turning off that high spread figure currently, just like that in one go, might be a detriment to the index, because you're going to see, I mean, for me, for instance, I bought a lot of players on my platform, on the platform when I first joined. When football was on, now there's no football. I've not been able to sell a lot of these players. I am going to have to sell a few, and they've put in place a nice little promotional stuff to help push that through, like the 8.25% you get back in the net spend of your total buys and your total sales. So um, with regards to that, that would be a reason for me to then go on to sell one or two players right now. But that would be it. It would be the one or two players. But guess what? Once football restarts, there are a bunch of people out there right now who potentially hold shares in players that they never really intentionally intended to buy shares in. Maybe just got a little bit of trigger finger, as some would say. But yeah, just look out, well position yourself, and get ready for the return of football at some point in the near future. We don't know when that is. And guys, I was about to close off, and I just remembered I was going to show you guys my portfolio real quick, and I'll just show you guys real quick. Over the last day or so, I've not won any dividend, which is a shame. But do you know what? I've only missed out, I think, 2 days now. In the media rankings, since the five place media dividends placeholders started on the 4th of April, which is about 10 days. I've got about 8 days worth of dividends, I think, so far. And I'll show you here. As you can see, it's looking pretty decent on my portfolio if I can get it up. It's gone up a little bit. I did drop a little bit of money on Igalo, Mason Mount, and Tammy Abraham. I think I bought some more of Aubameyang. That's where the real cost went recently, because I only had five of them and I added 45 to that, keeping them at 50, as you can see here. So yeah, see the profits. This was sat at almost 20 quid yesterday, so there's been a bit of a dip in the growth today. Um, but those swings are natural. They're normal. If you're not used to trading any other instruments or markets, then you might get scared with those fluctuations. And I might do a video where I try and explain to you guys reasons why I would maybe want to sell a position that I hold, because there is a fine line between having a healthy amount of shares and having an amount of shares that will give you a heart attack, really. So, guys, do take note of that. With regards to the dividends, I'm up to 25, 24 so far, as I explained. And really, that's about it. I just wanted to show you guys where I'm getting at, and how we're planning to move going forward. But yeah, once I set up the video where I can, sorry, I'm gonna try and set up a comparison portfolio kind of video where we can keep track of different kind of strategies and themes. And potentially see how their performance weigh up against each other and potentially the market come the end of the period. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me today. I do appreciate your support. Do share, click the like button, and do subscribe below on the video. Thank you guys for joining me today, and see you guys another time. Cheers. Bye for now.